Hello YouTube. I want to talk more about China, especially its ancient past and its culture. And if you go to China, there are very interesting things you can see as you travel. But even if you don't, there are some things to learn. For example, the Dunhuang manuscripts, a cache of important religious and secular documents discovered in the Mogao caves of Dunhuang, China in the early 20th century. Dating from the late 4th to early 11th centuries, as far as we know, the manuscripts include works ranging from history and mathematics to folk songs, to dance, other things. There are also a large number of religious documents, most of which are Buddhist, but other religions include Taoism, Nestorian Christianity, and so forth are also presented. The majority of manuscripts are in Chinese. Other languages represented are Sanskrit, ancient Sogdian, Tangut, Tibetan, Uyghur, Hebrew, and even Old Turkic language. The manuscripts are a major resource for academic studies in a wide variety of fields, including history, religious studies, linguistics, and manuscript studies. It's an incredible treasure. And also there is the so-called the Dunhuang Star Atlas, one of the most spectacular documents in the history of astronomy, and definitely a tribute to Chinese genius and to those who were before the Chinese and where the information came from. The Dunhuang star map is today the world's oldest complete preserved star atlas. Now, what happened is that it was early in 1900s. A walled-up cave containing a cache of manuscript was discovered by Chinese Taoist Wang Yuanlu in those Mogao caves. Carved in the cliffs above the Dachuan River, the Mogao caves southeast of the Dunhuang oasis, it's in Gansu province. They comprise the largest, most richly endowed and longest used treasure house of Buddhist art in the world. Wang Yanlu was basically a very poor Chinese Taoist monk from the Shanxi province who arrived in the Dunhuang Buddhist cave complex in the 1890s. He made it his home, and he became the unofficial guardian of the caves. He went on fundraising tours to raise money to restore the statues. In 1900, while he was clearing sand from cave number 16, he and his workmen accidentally discovered a hidden door. When opened, it led into a small cave filled with ancient documents and paintings dating from the 4th to 11th century. And the cave in question is now numbered Cave 17. It's also known as the Library Cave. If you ever go and see it, you will know. Now, we know that there were about 8,697 manuscripts brought by Fu Baoshu in 1910 to Beijing from Dunhuang, and they still constitute the main part of the Dunhuang materials at the National Library of China. Subsequently, through the government funding and from donations from people, from purchases made by the library, the total number of manuscripts currently held in the National Library of China has risen to around 16,000. And the unique Chinese map of the starry sky dating from the 7th century, it shows how they drew our galaxy with a striking accuracy for any people up to the age of Renaissance. That's according to the scientists who had studied that map. Now, the so-called Dunhuang map, apparently it's presented to the public in the British Library. Also, it is the world's oldest manuscript with a star map and an invaluable treasure for historians and astronomers. A well-preserved roll of paper the size of 21 by 25 centimeters showed the location of 1,345 stars, grouped in 257 groups, but not on the basis of constellations. Although partially studied by a few Chinese scholars, it has never been fully displayed and discussed in the Western media or world. This set of sky maps, there are 12-hour angle maps in a quasi-cylindrical projection and a circumpolar map in an azimuthal projection, displaying the full sky visible from the northern hemisphere, is up to now the oldest complete preserved star atlas known to be from any civilization. It is also the earliest known pictorial representation of the quasi-totality of Chinese constellations. Such details were not known to European science until the age of Galileo, his studies, his contemporaries, but they began to observe and study the stars hundreds of years after the creation of the Chinese map. And the advantage they had is undeniable because they had telescopes. The map shows even faintly, very faintly glowing stars, which are extremely difficult to detect with the naked eye. In addition, the Chinese map shows the sky as a sphere projected on a cylinder. In Europe, this technique was used only for the first time in the 15th century. And the first part of the manuscript consists of a collection of predictions based on the shape of clouds. This is a testament of importance of the role of prophecies in ancient China. There were French scientists who studied it. For example, Dr. Françoise Praderie of the Paris Observatory, who studied the China map together with the Doctor of Astronomy, Jean-Marc Bonnet-Bidot. And she said the origin of this star chart and its use remain unknown. You can guess what it was used for, military and road purposes, and probably from predictions made on the basis of consultations with the sky. And this can be assumed from the text of predictions on the clouds preceding the map. This is an unusual find, and I'm sure more texts will be discovered as the study continues. Now I want to tell you about another interesting attribute of China. There is a mountain range in eastern China and close to Shanghai named Huangshan. Huangshan Mountains are definitely something special. This massif was formed approximately 100 million years ago in the Mesozoic era and later gained its unique rock formations as a result of glacier activity. The peaks of the most unusual silhouettes resemble the figures of animals, birds, and even people. Huangshan, I believe it is translated as the Yellow Mountain. So it consists of 36 separate peaks rising above 1800 meters, and famous throughout Chinese artistic history, Huangshan represents the typical mountain in Chinese paintings, frequently shrouded in mist. The many peaks appear to float on clouds and have very fanciful names, such as 18 Arhats worshipping the South Sea, Lotus Flower Peak, Celestial Capital, Paintbrush, and so forth. What is Arhat? In Sanskrit language, it means one who is worthy. I believe it's Arahant in Buddhism. It's a perfected person, one who has gained insight into the true nature of existence and has achieved nirvana, spiritual enlightenment. The Arhat, having freed himself from the bonds of desire, will not be reborn. Now, back to the mountains. During the Qin dynasty, Huangshan was known as Yishan, Mount Yi. In 1747 AD, its name was changed to Huangshan by imperial decree. The name is commonly thought to have been coined in honor of Huan Di, the Yellow Emperor, a legendary Chinese emperor and the mythological ancestor of the Han Chinese. I have a video which I want you to see in my channel about the origin and very interesting endeavors and deeds of the Yellow Emperor and his connection to other parts of the galaxy. Now, one legend about this mountain states that the Huangshan was the location from which the Yellow Emperor ascended to heaven, or flew away to another star system. Another legend states that the Yellow Emperor cultivated moral character and refined pills of immortality in the mountains, and in so doing gave the mountains his name. The climb to Huashan, which is about 14 kilometers, is very dangerous. In some places there is no road and steps are simply hollowed out in a steep rock. In ancient times, Huashan was called the most precipitous mountain in China. Huashan caves are steeped in ancient, mysterious legends. On one side of the river stands Huashan Mountain, crowded with bamboo, pines, and wildflowers. Xianyan River curls around the mountain Huashan. On a huge rock, there are carved 4 Chinese characters that read, Huashan Mountain Mystery Caves. All the Huashan caves, each ranging from 10 meters to 20 meters in height, were manually chiseled more than 1700 years ago. Stone chambers in the cave were sometimes connected by way of corridors. Stone columns in various shapes, such as an elephant or a boot, supported the ceiling. Altogether, 36 chambers have been found among the Huashan hills. Some chambers are filled with water, and some are 2-story chambers. The history and purposes of Huashan caves are now untraceable due to the lack of any words in books or on cave walls describing their use. Why was this magnificent project built? Were they built for troops, or maybe like an abandoned imperial tomb? Why does each cave have different marks chiseled into stone? The secrets of the caves of Huashan Mountains are many, and many people try to solve them. The research is conducted by geologists, historians, and sinologists, who and why a few centuries ago cut down many huge caves in hard-to-reach rocks, the purposes for which they were built, and what happened to them. What were they? Why is there no information in historical chronicles really about the caves? And most amazing things is that Huashan caves were discovered recently. In the late 1990s, a local farmer stumbled on the cave in 1999 and reported his find to the authorities. Researchers, employees of various institutions, and even tourists flocked to the caves. The following fact is surprising, despite the fact that in China it is the largest man-made caves. And according to at least some Russian sources, the ancient chronicles of China does not contain any data. So who created and for what purpose? I'm asking again. Where did such a huge amount of stone disappear to after cutting down? And if the purpose of cutting into the mountain was the extraction of stone, then why do Huashan caves look like temples? Secret upon secret. So, the caves are created in the rocks in a remote place in the south of Anhui province. This is the location of the famous Yellow Mountain, as I said, sacred to Taoism. And it represents a complex of 5 great mountains located from each other at a distance of a mile or 2. They point to all sides of the world, north, west, south, east, and the center. The Huashan Mountain with mysterious caves is the western mountain. It has several Taoist monasteries. Although, like I said, only 36 caves have been discovered so far, but the final number is still unknown. And it's still not known whether the caves communicate with each other through passages. One of the caves, called Huangshan, has an area of 4,800 square meters, and its length is 140 meters. Inside that cave, there is a spacious hall, swimming pools, columns, and several small rooms located on both sides of the cave tunnel. The largest cave was given the name Underground Palace. Its colossal size is striking, 12,600 square meters. The artificial origin of Huashan caves is no doubt. This is confirmed by the presence of stone bridges across the river, stairs, passages, and large columns. In addition, on the surface of the walls and ceilings, they found traces of chisel marks, like I said before, where did masons remove a huge amount of rubble and stones? This is one of the biggest mysteries. It is also unclear how they were able to determine the angle of the inclination on the inner walls in such a way that it is perfectly coincides with the angle of inclination on the outer surface of the mountain. The technology of creating an unusual interior and interior lighting, it remains a mystery, just like the pyramids in Egypt. There are many assumptions, but none of them is proved. The only information that has survived since the Han Dynasty is that the Chinese emperors love to come to Huashan Mountain to pray to their ancient ancestors and gods. How people climb the steep slopes is unknown. Since the ancient times, there is only one narrow winding trail of about 14 kilometers leading to the top of the mountain. Only determined, strong-minded people can climb it. From other sources, I read that the Huashan Mountain, striking in its beauty, in ancient times had a special spiritual status among the inhabitants of this area. The State Tourism Administration of China has taken serious steps to ensure access to the caves for tourists and travelers. University experts have developed a project for the development and lighting of the cave complex. See, that's in modern time. How they did it before, we don't know. Now the caves are lit with different colors, which gives them a fabulous flavor. To date, each cave is numbered, but only a few are available to visitors. Now the question still remains: how long have the Huashan Mountain caves really have been in existence? It's a mystery shrouded in darkness. It is only an assumption made by the analysis of stalactites and walls that the caves are at least 1700 years old. And like I said, they were discovered only in the late 20th century. So this is something to think about. Who were the inhabitants that created those caves? What was their mission? Well, there are other historical texts, apparently, that have references to the fact that in different dynasties there were many Taoists who achieved spiritual enlightenment in these mountains. It is said that even the founder of Taoism, Lao Tzu, lived there for some time. The ancient texts tell the stories of such famous Taoists as Huangshan, Liu Nusheng, Wei Ji, and others who were engaged in spiritual self-improvement in Huashan. To solve the problem of food, which was very difficult in the mountains, many of them used a special technique, bigu, refusal of food. Thanks to it, they could not eat for many years, or they would not eat for many years. For example, there is a writing that the Han Lu Nusheng dynasty Taoist had not eaten anything for more than 80 years, but looked fresh as peach blossoms and young as a teenager. I think this is a mystery that will stay with us for some time, and I hope we find out who really carved those caves. In my future videos, I want to tell you about Tibet and very strange and interesting discoveries. According to former Soviet scientists, of course, Russian and Ukrainian, and I think you will be amazed. And also about interesting travels of Russian explorers and what they found out in Central Asia and China. Thank you. If you can support my research, please do. There is a link to my Patreon account. I appreciate your attention, and I'll bring you more videos.